This story is wild. And boy, oh boy, does it really go to show you, you just never know what can happen on a cruise ship. We're talking about fake visas, canceled ports, and a bunch of angry, disgruntled passengers. We've got some cruise news to discuss. Let's dive right into it. Hello everyone, it's Cynthia. Welcome back to today's show. Well, today I'm talking to you about the MSC Armonia. Let me set the stage for this story that I'm about to tell you. So first, talking about MSC Armonia. She first began sailing for MSC Cruises in 2004. The MSC Armonia is a Lyrica class ship, and it was originally built in 2001 for the now defunct Festival Cruises as the MSC European Vision. The Armonia is 58,600 gross tons. She can accommodate 2,065 passengers in 873 cabins with 760 crew. The Armonia had 1,500 passengers on board. It was leaving from Brazil and headed through the Mediterranean over to Barcelona, where 69 Bolivian passengers were set to disembark the ship. And this is when the story gets really wild. For whatever reason, when the Spanish authorities checked these Bolivian passengers who were getting ready to disembark the cruise ship, they suspected that their visas were fake. What happened is the cruise ship has been forced to hold all 1,500 passengers on board because the 69 Bolivian passengers failed to have the correct visa documents needed to enter the European border-free Shenzhen area. Now, as the investigation continued on, it was found that the visas were indeed fake, and no one was allowed to leave that ship until they did more investigating to see what was going on. You can imagine how upset the other passengers were having to be detained, and because of this delay, ports of call were missed. Planned stops in France, Greece, and Croatia were all canceled. Now, we do need to say that the 69 Bolivian passengers, the fake visas were not something that it seems like they sat down and tried to do some kind of weird scheme, cooking up, making them themselves. That wasn't the case. What has since been found is that they were all victims of some type of scam. These were documents that they believed were legit, but actually they were scammed out of their money to buy these visas that are indeed fake. It is completely interesting that these visas, these fake visas, were good enough to get the Bolivian passengers on board the ship, because they do check when you enter the ship, but upon leaving there, the visas were noticed that no, they indeed were not legitimate documentation. So MSC and Spanish authorities have been working in cooperation so that the group of Bolivian guests were able to disembark, and now they'll be able to follow the immigration process as required by law. The Armonia is now able to continue on, no longer being held there in Barcelona, but it was quite a nightmare for not just the other passengers, but for the Bolivian passengers as well. Wow. What do you think about this one? That's terrible for everybody concerned. I even thought about how MSC must be scrambling to take care of this, because they in fact did allow these passengers on board the ship after having, supposedly looked at their documentation. So this story just goes to show us we have to remain cautious and vigilant, making sure that when we do things that are, legal documentation, that we have all of the right paperwork. And, they actually, I'm sure, felt that they had all the right paperwork, and there's a cost associated with getting visas and passports and documentation like that. It's just sad that people are out there who would rather, do something nefarious, I'm using a big word, and illegal and scummy and underhanded and take people's money instead of, being legit. That's ridiculous. These poor families, you don't know what they did in order to get these visas, do this paperwork, and they're doing what they think they should do to go on this cruise, and then this happens. And then, of course, all the other passengers who have, waited and planned and set aside time and money to go on a cruise, headed to ports that I'm sure that they were interested in wanting to see and looking forward to see, only to have them canceled because of something as strange and weird and really ridiculous as this. And kudos to MSC and the Spanish authorities for working so quickly and so hard to try to take care of the situation and figure out what's going on all around. Now, it was sad the ports were missed, and I'm not sure what MSC will do, if anything, for compensation to the passengers who's had to be detained and missed their ports of call. I guess this story will continue to be ongoing. So now I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever had anything weird or strange happen when you were getting your documentation for cruising? You know, American passengers, if you're headed on a cruise ship that starts in an American port and closed loop and comes back around, ends in an American port, you don't necessarily have to have a passport. You can actually use your birth certificate and a picture ID. They both have to be valid and all of that. So you don't have to get a passport and certainly not a visa, but that's, you know, here in America. In so many other countries, you do need a passport, or for whatever other reasons, legal reasons, you have to have a visa, and you go through the proper steps, and it takes some time, and you have to produce, you know, documentation to prove who you are, and it costs money. Have you ever had anything strange or wild happen to you when you were, you know, out there getting your paperwork and your documentation ready for cruising? I've never run into anything, thank goodness, wild or crazy like this. And on the other side, I've never been on a cruise ship that had to stop for something quite as strange as immigration issues or, you know, fake documentation. Yeah. If you do have something, I'd love to know. Drop it down in the comments below. All right, everyone, that is the cruise news story for today. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed the show, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this with anyone that you think would be interested. And definitely subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you as part of the Right Recipe for Travel family. And we are boldly going where this channel hasn't gone before, looking for 10,000 subscribers before the middle of July. So please do tap on that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and welcome you to the family. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you at the next adventure.